Hello, everyone. I am Gretchen Rubin, author of The Happiness Project, Better Than Before, The Four Tendencies, and several other books. I'm also the host of the Happier with Gretchen Rubin podcast. So if you are joining, please tell me where are you watching from, because I get the biggest kick for some reason from knowing where everybody is in the world. I am in my little home office in New York City. Usually I do this from my living room, but I decided today I would do it from my home office. And it's so fun to see people. Okay, great. Oh, how fun. So today I'm going to be talking about Determination Day, and also with a special emphasis on the habit of movement or exercise. So, Gilbert, Arizona, Sweden, there we go. Miami Lakes, Florida. Oh, this is so fun. Okay, keep it coming. So today is February 15th, and I am calling this Determination Day. Now, originally, I thought of this as Discouragement Day, because what research shows is that, many people make New Year's resolutions, and then over time, a lot of people drift away from their resolutions. And there are different names for the day, and different dates that are chosen as kind of the date where people kind of officially acknowledge that they are discouraged. So you might have heard of Quitter's Day or Fall Off the Wagon Day. And I thought, well, Discouragement Day, because, it's like we're just a little bit discouraged. But then I thought, no, let's reframe it. It's Determination Day, because we can succeed by failing. If we figure out that something's not working for us, we can re-engage. We can say, you know what? I thought I would try getting up and going for a run every day before work. That is not working. That is not sticking. But now I know maybe first thing in the morning isn't a time for me to feel high energy. And so I need to pick a different time. So let me know, if you've made a resolution, do you feel like you're on track to keep that resolution and you're feeling good and strong? Or are you feeling like you need to get a little bit more determination? Let me know. I'll be very curious to hear how people are doing. And the fact is, if you are feeling discouraged, if you are struggling a little bit, that is such a common thing. So many people report that. There's really no, someone's on track. That's good. The first answer's on track. That feels suspicious. So one of the pitfalls, someone says I need to make adjustments, but that is okay. And I think that is a great term, adjustments. Because I think sometimes people are sort of like, I'm either in or I'm out. It's either working or I'm failing. Instead of saying like, okay, what are the adjustments? Like, do I need to rethink when I'm doing this habit? Do I need to think about how I'm doing this habit? Do I need to think about what's working and what's not working? Someone says, definitely slacking a bit in the past couple weeks after going so strong in January, and it is discouraging. Okay, so this raises a very important point, and give me a thumbs up if you've experienced this. Starting is often not that hard. It's not that hard to start. There's sort of an excitement and an energy to starting. And sometimes it's even fun to do something really ambitious, like a 30-day challenge where you do something for 30 days. But often it changes. And that excitement and that energy starts to wear off. And I think that's by February 15th, a lot of that, it's like it's sort of turned into a different kind of challenge, a more enduring challenge. A kind of like, it's not just doing something for 30 days, it's like doing something for the rest of your life. And that feels different, and that can feel intimidating. And I think, in my experience, that's when a lot of people struggle, because they're over that first exciting hump, and they might have thought like, oh, well, this is going to be really easy for me because I had such a strong start. So they're not really prepared for when the challenge becomes the persistent challenge, the enduring challenge. And that is really when we need habits to kick in, because we want habits to make things automatic and effortless, where we don't make decisions, we don't debate with ourselves today, tomorrow, do I deserve it, do I earn it, I've been so good in the past, I deserve a day off, I'm going to be so good starting next week, I don't need to start now. You want it to be a habit, so you're just up and going for that walk before you even think about it. Now, from asking around, it seems to me that one thing that many, many people have resolved to do in 2022, and probably, I think, just about every year, this is at the top, or like at least in the top 3, is some form of movement, some form of exercise, whether that's stretching and, standing up, like maybe using some kind of smartwatch to remind you to stand up, or training for a marathon. I mean, and everything in between. Let me know in the comments if you have made a resolution related to movement. And if you feel like it, add what kind of movement. If you're focused on a particular kind of movement, like if you're focusing on yoga or you're focusing on walking. Because I think it is something that many people resolve to do, but it can take so many forms. Someone says, I'm on the spin bike now. Okay, well, gold star to you. Yes, I'm impressed. My husband loves spinning. It's not for me, but a lot of people love it. And again, it's like there are so many ways to do it. Now, if you need, especially you questioners out there, need confirmation that this is a good use of your time, there is just more and more research all the time about how important movement is. It's like a magical elixir of life. It both boosts our energy and calms us down. It gives us more energy during the day, and it helps us fall asleep faster and sleep more deeply, which then again, that goes to our energy. It helps our immune function, which, oh my gosh, we're also thinking about our immune function now. It helps a memory alertness. So if you're a person who, who doesn't need memory and alertness? Winter running, yeah. Checked off my 22 for 22 and loving it. Oh, that's great. That's great to see. So there's many reasons to exercise. And it can take many forms. Now, the really nice thing about exercise is that research shows that, like, let's say you are completely sedentary. Research shows that if you go from being completely sedentary to only like slightly less sedentary, you'll get a huge boost. You do not have to train for the marathon to get a big boost. And if you just do a little bit, you can see enormous strides and like really big benefits for yourself. So it's really worth doing it. It's not like you have to be 6 months in or doing a ton, exercising an hour a day to really get some benefits. So this is something that you can do very moderately. Now, in 2020, if you listen to the Happier podcast, you know that Elizabeth and I, we've started doing these yearly challenges. So we did Walk 20 and 20. And last year we did Read 21 and 21. And this year it's Rest 22 and 22. And we did it the first year just to see how it went. And it was extraordinary how many people did it and how much benefit came from it. I mean, people were going off medication. People's dogs were healthier. People were reconnecting with relationships as well as having enormous benefits. And so sometimes, just telling yourself, okay, I'm going to walk 20 minutes a day, because even a very busy person can often fit that in. So because movement is something that so many people are focused on doing, I've created something called a jump start. And I'm going to do a whole series of jump starts, and movement is the first jump start, because what I've noticed, and let me know in the show notes if you've experienced the same thing, that sometimes you just need a jump start, right? You're going, but you're sort of drifting to a halt, or you feel like your battery needs a little bit of a charge, and you kind of just need to attach the jumper cables. So this is meant to be that, and it's sort of a it's a set of tools, so you can pick and choose, because one of the things that I really firmly believe is that no tool fits every hand, and what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. And back to this idea of adjustments. Someone says I spend the time I used to commute doing a big walk each day. Now, see, that's a great use of that time. Because every tool doesn't work for everyone, I wanted there to be kind of a selection. So some people, I bet, will use everything and kind of like to use everything and try everything and experiment with everything. And then some people might just be like, okay, I know what's going to work for me and what's not going to work for me. One thing that I found a lot of people like is an SMS approach, where you get a daily prompt. So for the jump start, and this, by the way, is at happiercast.com/movement, and I'll also post, there'll be a link in the comments if you want to check it out. So the SMS challenge is for 7 days, you get a prompt that helps you to think about exercise and figure out what kind of exercise is going to work for you, and sort of like help keep you in that mode. There's a downloadable PDF that you can use that's also meant to help you figure yourself out. And again, the idea is that sometimes we just need a little bit of a push. And it's not always easy. You don't always get it. Oh, somebody said, I just got my last day of the SMS challenge today. Oh, great. That's wonderful. Excellent. Oh, yeah. If anybody's already done it, yeah, like let me know, because it's sort of new and exciting. Sometimes you sort of have to think it through. And with movement, what I have found is that there's a lot of factors that go into it. And sometimes people aren't that good at thinking about what factors they could change. And also a lot of people just blame themselves. Like, they're so hard on themselves. I mean, say something in the comments if you feel like sometimes you're too hard on yourself when something doesn't work. So instead of saying something like, oh, I see that I really am very sensitive to bad weather, and maybe I would do better in a kind of exercise that doesn't expose me to bad weather. So maybe I need to do a cardio workout with a YouTube teacher where I can do it inside my own house because I don't like the cold and the wet, and I live in a cold, wet place. Okay, that's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just a piece of information about you. Some people love a chance to go out in nature. Some people love, it's the whole, there's no bad weather, there's only bad clothes. Some people, that would actually be an attraction to them. A form of exercise that would get them outdoors would actually be something that would pull them towards that habit, that would help reinforce it and would add to their day. But for other people, not so much. Some people might love, I love being in a dancing in a loud place with a lot of people, and the music is pounding, and I love that. And then another person might be like, oh my gosh, the last thing I want is to be in a noisy place with music pounding and all these people around. And so what that person would need was quiet and solitude, and so a different kind of exercise would appeal to them. But often people are like, oh, my friend says that this class is great. If that my friend goes regularly and I don't, there's something wrong with me. Instead of saying, okay, well, what have I learned? What are the adjustments? As somebody said, how can I learn from that? Again, I cannot resist. I don't want to go into the Four Tendencies too much because that's a whole thing. But if you do not know, if you are an upholder, questioner, obliger, rebel, take the quiz. Go to quiz.gretchenrubin.com or go to gretchenrubin.com/4tendencies. That's probably even better. I'll put a link in the comments. Take the quiz and figure out what you need. If you are an obliger, you know what I'm going to say. You need to have that outer accountability for the movement. Do not expect to rely on inner accountability. You need outer accountability. So take a class or work out with a friend, or think of your duty to be a role model to somebody else. Think of your duty to your future self. There's a million ways to get outer accountability, and obligers are great at figuring out how to get outer accountability once they know that is what they need. Okay, great. Yeah, the quiz.gretchenrubin.com if you want it. Oh, someone says I'm an obliger. Oh, yeah, if you know your tendency, put it on. I would be so fascinated to see who we put. Oh, someone says they highly recommend it. Oh, that's so nice. Someone says, I find myself so tied to my routine, and sometimes it can seem daunting to switch up the routine, but it can also be the shot in the arm you need. That is a fascinating observation, and I think that's worth kind of thinking about, because I thrive on repetition. I love to do the same thing over and over. I love to do the same walk through Central Park. I visit the museum every day. I eat a lot of the same food every day if I have my way. I really love repetition and familiarity. Some people are absolutely turned off by that, and they need to feel spontaneous, rebels. They want a lot of variety. They want to mix things up. And then sometimes it's maybe you're stuck in a rut and you would benefit from doing something different. But this is, again, the kind of thing that you want to think about an adjustment. If you feel like you're flagging by determination day, one of the things you might say is am I in a rut and do I need to change things up? Or maybe I'm making too many decisions and I should just commit to something and just do it. And one thing you can always do, and this is something questioners often like to do, is just do something pick a period of time, I'm going to do this for a month, and then I'm going to reevaluate. And it's an experiment. You're learning about yourself. And again, you can sort of evaluate and decide how you want to move forward. Now, here's a very interesting thing, which is tracking. Because for many people, maybe not everybody, but for many, many people, tracking is very helpful. Whether that, I have a Don't Break the Chain journal, which I love this journal, by the way. If you like a Don't Break the Chain, if you like a streak, check out this journal. It's got so many kind of elements to it. I'll put a link in the comments if you want to check it out. It looks really cool. I worked with a really great team to design this. Some people love that. Like every day when I do it, I'm going to check that off. Or maybe you like to keep track of how many total miles you've gone. Like some people do the thing where they like track it across the country. Like people say to me like, oh, I've run from like Denver to San Francisco, or things like that, or count up how many minutes they have. A thing a lot of people do is count their steps each day. My sister does that. My sister, if you listen to the Happier podcast, you know all about my sister. So she's an obliger. And she's also a type 1 diabetic, so it's really important for her to get her exercise because it makes such a difference with her blood glucose level, which she's always, thinking about. So what she does, because she's an obliger, she has another friend who wants to do 10,000 steps a day. So they text each other when they hit 5,000 and then when they hit 10,000. And they don't say anything or do anything. They just say 5,000, 10,000. They do the 5,000 because she says it's a good reminder that if you kind of have not realized oh, I'm not making any progress. It's like when you see, oh my goodness, my partner is at 5, I need to get on it. So it's a good reminder. And then 10. And for her, it's the accountability. It's also kind of the ta-da. Like if you're a person who likes to feel like you're getting credit, you're getting that gold star, like you're crossing it off your list, sending that text gives her that feeling. So that's something, some people, you can do it that way. I have the app, the Happier app. You can do that with the Happier app. Again, I'll put a link to that if you want to check that out in the comments. Because that you can use an accountability partner. You can take a photo. Like some people like to take a photo sort of at their turnaround point or the top of their hike, or, take a picture of how many steps they took in a day, whatever, use photos. That's a very quick, easy way. Don't break the chain. So there's a lot of ways. So how would you say that you monitor? If you monitor, how do you monitor? Because I think this is very interesting. Again, this idea that no tool is good for everyone. Someone says, on the Happier app, I'm doing accountability partner and don't break the chain. Now, see, that's interesting because that's 2. And I think for many people, for a very significant habit, especially if it feels challenging, you might even want to use 2 tools. Because, or if you're using the 21 strategies of habit change, you want to use more than one strategy, and which sounds hard. It's actually not that hard when you understand the different strategies and how you can pile them on top of each other. It takes. Someone says Apple Watch fitness rings. Close the rings every day, right? Again, it's that, and then when you have the thing where it gives you that kind of fireworks, it's very exciting. It's like we need that reinforcement. So tell me how you track, because I'm very interested in this, because again, as I'm thinking about creating more jump starts and more tools, it's really helpful to hear what people gravitate toward or what they find useful. And I have to say, if someone says, don't break the chain, works very well with my husband, but not for me. I think I need a milestone to motivate me. Hitting the milestone is what pushes me forward. See, this is a fascinating insight into why we need to know ourselves better. That is so valuable, right? For one person, it's don't break the chain. It's the streak. It's the day after day after day. The other person, it's the milestone. Working towards that milestone. It's like the person who says, I signed up for the next 5K before the first 5K comes around. I need that milestone. Or I'm going to aim for, and this is a way people use their, on the Happier podcast, we've talked about doing 20 for 20, 21 for 21. This year we're doing 22 for 2022. This is when you make a list of 22 things you want to do in 2022. This is just meant to make it kind of more whimsical and fun to twist on New Year's resolutions. And what a lot of people do with 2020 with their 22 for 22 list is they put in these kinds of milestones. They might, and sometimes they'll play with the number 22. So I want to go on 22 new hikes, or I want to do 2 and 2 5Ks in the year, 2 in the first half and 2 in the second half, or they'll find ways to do it. Or I want to take, try 22 new classes. Some people really like to experiment with going to different classes and different instructors. So there's ways to do that. And what are other kinds of milestones that people use? Because I think that's a really great point, that some people like to have milestones. And it's very significant. And I wrote a blog post about this, about the problem with finish lines. I love the word milestone, and I think it's so much more helpful to think about milestones, because the thing about milestones is like, yeah, like let's say you ran 500 miles, like you're tracking, or you're doing a numbers tracker, you're tracking your miles, you just ran 500 miles in 2022 or whatever. Is that possible? I don't even know. I guess people could do that. Yeah, sure they could. So you let's say you've run 100 miles. So you've run 100 miles. That's an exciting milestone, but it's one of many milestones that you will pass in a lifetime of exercise, right? Because it's not like, oh, I run 100 miles, now I'm done. Like, that's not how movement works, and we all know that. And yet it's easy to get stuck in these milestones and think like, oh, I'm training for the marathon. I ran my first marathon. It's amazing. And then you kind of feel like, oh, I did that. Or I did this 30-day yoga challenge, and now 30 days is up, and I feel like I've sort of finished. Finish lines are tough, because then you have to start over because you've finished. And so this word milestone, I think, is much more powerful, because it has this connotation, and it brings up this image of just passing by. You're passing a milestone, but then you just keep passing milestone after milestone. And part of the fun of it is seeing yourself go past these milestones. Like, it's fun to look around, it's fun to see the scenery at these milestones, but does that mean you stop? No, you do not stop. Just the word milestone so much. Yeah, I mean, I think, and here's one thing that has surprised me in my study of habits and happiness. Language matters so much. Vocabulary matters so much. Metaphors matter so much. This is another way that we need to understand ourselves better and think about ourselves. Like, what is the metaphor that works for you? So even something like, are you practicing piano or are you playing piano? Are you on a journey? A lot of people talk to me about a journey, right? The happiness journey. For some reason, the metaphor of the journey does not resonate with me. If you look at my stuff, I almost never talk about a journey. Other people, like, the journey is such a powerful metaphor for them. So they talk about journeys all the time, which is great. It just doesn't happen to be the metaphor for me, so I have to use my own metaphor. When I wrote The Happiness Project, so many people said, oh, you shouldn't call it The Happiness Project, because Happiness Project, that sounds like homework. That doesn't sound like fun. I was like, to me, a project sounds like so much fun. I'm like, I what can I say? That's my metaphor. That's what resonates with me. And I realized, but for some people that wouldn't be a good metaphor, because it doesn't conjure up the right things. And so that's something else to think about as you are thinking about movement. So that might even be a way of, like, the vocabulary, like, are you going for a run? Are you going for a jog? Are you taking a hike? Are you dancing? Or you're taking a dance class, or are you taking like a cardio class? You might much prefer to take a dance class, even though basically it's more or less like a different kind of exercise class. Or maybe you'll be like, I want to dance. I'll do a high intensity dance, but I'm not going to just exercise. I have a friend who, like, she's, for some reason, this is just her mindset, she really is opposed to exercise. She will play tennis, she'll go for a swim, she'll do things that she feels like are activities, but she won't exercise for exercise's sake. And it turns out that's kind of hard as an adult, because it's hard to, like, have a game of tennis and go for a swim, especially in her life. And so, happiness bully that I am, I do have to say that I did get her to do high intensity weight training, which is something that I do and that I'm very committed to, because it's so efficient. You do not have to do very much in terms of, like, on a minute per week basis to get a lot of bang for like a lot of value from your time and your energy. But it was really hard for her, because she had to kind of get her mind around the idea that it wasn't just an activity, it was something that she was going to do for pure exercise. But she just felt like it was so important to her for health reasons that she really was able to get herself there. But I saw how for her, it really required grappling with it. So sometimes you can't just hand wave these things. You really have to think them through and understand, identify the problem. This is one of my 12 personal commandments. What is the problem? Is the problem that you want more solitude, or you want more time with other people, or you want to do the same thing all the time, or you need to do it later in the day and everybody keeps telling you to do it first thing in the morning, but you're a night person and you're at your most energetic later in the day, so you just have to ignore whatever all the good advice people are giving you and do it later in the day. I interviewed Tiffany Dufu, who's fantastic. She told me that the way she exercises is she dances for a half an hour at midnight. And I was like, that is so wrong for me on so many levels. I can't even wrap my mind around it. But that's how she exercises. That's what works for her. So great, but if she didn't experiment and didn't try different things, she might not ever realize that this is really a great time for her and works really well for her because it fits with her energy level, her preferences, what she wants to do. She wants some time to herself to listen to music and to dance, and midnight is when it feels right for her. So someone says, for me, it's health. I want to stay healthy. Absolutely. That's such a great thing to stay connected to. Someone said, I just read a 30-minute workout is only about 2% of your day. Well, that's a helpful statistic to read. Someone says it's how we frame it. I like to think of it as playtime. I think that's great. Sometimes people, and I've heard this especially from rebels, will frame exercise time as kind of like hooky. Like they'll often be like, oh, I'm going to sneak away from my desk and go do this. Well, maybe they aren't even sneaking away from their desk. They're just like taking some time in their day to exercise. But like for them, like they like that feeling. And I do think sometimes if you're like, oh, this is me time, or like, oh, I need some time to myself, so I'm going to go for a walk. That can make it seem kind of more appealing and more attractive. How many people are parents who like to like go for a walk because it means that they can kind of get some time to themselves? If you have really little kids, sometimes it's really nice to just like go outside and go for a walk. Even if you're pushing a stroller, you sort of like often there is kind of a quietness to it, and kind of like you and your child are just sort of like looking around and taking things in. I remember when I had 2 really young children, I found that very restorative, even apart from the exercise of it, just kind of as an activity to like, it's just energizing and yet it's kind of restful. And that's true even in New York City, where it's not quiet. I wouldn't say it's quiet, but it is restful. Someone says right here, escape. Yes, I mean, again, what is the metaphor that's powerful for you? So this has been so fascinating. Again, if you are looking for like getting over some discouragement, if you feel like you want to re-engage, you want to stay determined, it's never too late. They say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. And the best time to start exercising is 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. So if you are feeling like you need to re-engage, stay with it, adjust, experiment, try new things. Try the Jumpstart, because I have designed it to try to help people kind of get that boost, get that jolt of energy if you need to re-engage. And that's happiercast.com/movement. If someone says, I love Determination Day, I will remember that. Okay. Now, if you listen to the Happier podcast and you've heard us talk about the calendar of catalysts, I have a lot of extra dates that I'm adding to the calendar of catalysts. So Determination Day is already on there. Yes, May the 4th be with you. I don't know how we left it out the first time, but May the 4th be with you. We'll go on to the calendar of catalysts. So many people have told us about that. If you have another date you want to add to the calendar of catalysts for days of reflection and evaluation, re-engagement, February 15th, Determination Day, July 2nd, Halfway Day. We got all different kinds of dates. So that has been really fun to do. But for Determination Day and anytime, try this Jumpstart and see if it works. And I'm going to do more. There's going to be a whole series of Jumpstarts with all, and the tools will be, a little bit different. Obviously like the PDF type thing will be different because it'll be tailored to all the specific aims. I have a pretty good sense of the main aims that people pursue. And so I want to really target these to help people do that. So again, that's happiercast.com/movement. If you want to take the Four Tendencies quiz, go to GretchenRubin.com/Four Tendencies, FOUR. Listen to the Happier podcast if you want to hear Elizabeth and me talk about all this stuff, our 22 for 22 list, and how we're doing with Rest 22 and 22, and how season 2 of Fantasy Island is going. Elizabeth just texted me. It's going very well. She's in Puerto Rico now. So thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day, and happy Determination Day. Onward and upward.